Hey Dylan,
Hey, how's it going, man?
pretty good. How about you?
Doing okay.
Another busy week.
Hey John,
Hey, what's up?
not much. I had a math exam today, calculus exam.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
For what
Sounds
class?
great.
I had fun. I'm pretty confident in how I did, and I actually had fun doing the questions. Hey,
That's good.
Did you finish quest 8,
Who are you talking to?
Christopher?
Huh? Oh
Did
yeah,
you
I
finish
did.
quest 8? You did?
I did.
Nice. What did you
I'm
think?
just starting 8.
Quest A, I mean, everything was straightforward except the get completion one that took me a while, but I don't think it was extremely as hard as people think
That's what I
in
thought
the last
too.
Zoom meeting.
That's what I
But
thought too. But
yeah, I still think the automata is harder.
that's what I think. So you're on quest 8, Dylan?
I just started. I finished 7 on Saturday when I was like stressing out over. It was the weirdest thing. I had messed up my size helper and didn't realize
Okay.
it. And so my constructor was not working. And I was like,
Yeah.
what?
I think I remember doing that with Quest 7. I think I did
And
that
so
thing.
I deleted the file and just started from scratch. And I was like, oh, yeah.
I've
And
done
then,
that
yeah, when I went
with
to turn it
almost every
in on
quest.
Saturday, I kept
Yeah.
getting it was the identical thing. And it was like, yours isn't the same as mine. And I was like, but it
Yeah, but
looks
you can't see what the difference
exactly the
is. It's
same.
confusing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I needed to put a leading space instead of a trailing space on something. And it was fine after that. But yeah, 7 actually not as hard as I expected it to be, I guess.
Did anyone have trouble with Quest 3?
Well, I may or may not have forgot to clear like the previous current gen every time I was like processing a next gen. So it was pretty epic. They're like each gen was just stacking on top of each other and making like a massive
Oh,
gen.
that's funny.
So it's like
Yeah, it's pretty
exponential or
cool.
what?
What's that?
So it's like exponential or what?
Yeah, no, it like wouldn't really like yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I realized something when I figured out my what I needed to do to make it work for 5 parents. I realized that in all 4.3 billion possibilities, there's probably a couple billion of them that just don't work and they just zero out. And I didn't really realize that or process that because there's only like 5 rules that actually contribute to the first generation if you think about it. There's only 5 possible combinations you can get out of the first generation. And like most of those end up being 0 most of the time. So that was funny.
Because you're always going to start with only one guy in the seed.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's only so many possibilities for the second generation, I guess.
Yeah. That's true. I was also looking over the spec for Quest 4, and he's like, go read up on binary trees. And I assumed that he meant the, Loseth modules. I wasn't able to like find any binary tree stuff there, so I don't know, like, where did you guys look? I mean, unless you already knew about binary trees, I guess.
I think it was just called trees and deep copies or something.
Yeah. Also, if you Google left sibling or left child right sibling binary tree, you should get some like good articles about it or like YouTube videos.
Okay.
Because it's like a very specific type of binary tree. Yeah, the Losef stuff had some stuff on it, but it wasn't like fully laid out.
Okay, cool. Because I'm just learning about like C strings again. I'm like, I don't see how that applies to binary trees, but all right.
So Christopher, did you look over the Quest 9 spec at all?
Oh yeah, it was about graph, right? Something like that.
Hmm, I mean, I don't even know what I would call it or say that it's about. It's like, I don't know. It's interesting, I guess.
Yeah, I usually look like scan over the module and see what it's about and just watch a YouTube video about it and figure things out from there. It's been working so far.
Yeah, the last one was kind of interesting. Were we supposed to use like for loops or something to like make most of them? To like make most of the nodes?
I don't know, ask Adam. I haven't started with that.
Oh, for Quest
I
9.
think it just looks ugly.
I think for Quest 9, I straight up just hard coded everything.
Oh,
I like I,
Wait, do you only have to do like one of them in order to finish the quest?
uh
Because they all say optional, so I assume you pass
I don't
one. then-
remember. I just did all of them.
trophies, then, yeah. Because I think you have to do them to get the trophies for it. Even if it's not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's all of them. I think like you have to hard code all of them, but there's one where you can do like whatever you want with
I
it.
see.
And that one, it might be interesting to see some like weird algorithm that generates some crazy graph.
Also, did you guys see the message about, or I don't know if you guys already talked about this, about the midterm coming up?
Oh yeah, I saw the email.
Yeah.
Be doing
Dang.
some low Ceph reading this weekend.
Yeah.
Is the midterm
Review.
open book or not?
Yeah, I think all the tests are. He even said you can like use your IDE, but he doesn't recommend it because
Okay.
you'll probably waste time trying to code stuff up.
Oh yeah, it's a timed exam.
Yeah.
Well, in the syllabus, he says like, I recommend not using your IDE. So, like, doesn't that mean that it's not allowed? Or
Oh, maybe I misread it. I thought he said you can, but he doesn't recommend it.
Well, yeah, I think he probably doesn't recommend it because it's gonna be like a
Gonna waste
small
time.
part of a like more complex
Yeah.
program that you're gonna have to like figure out how to construct for the little piece to even make sense or work.
Unless you just create like a main, just literally a main method or like a tester class or something. And if he's like testing based on classes, you just copy paste the code and like add friend class. And then, I mean, I don't know. I'm, did he say that it's going to be about like coding? I didn't see the,
He said it's about the concepts from like chapters 1 to 6 on the low Ceph modules.
I think what's more likely is it's like, I mean, he didn't like, I don't think it's a practical thing. I think it's more of a knowledge thing than a practical
Yeah, it's
thing.
multiple choice.
Right,
You'll
that's
probably
what
just
I'm
get snippets
thinking.
and be like, what's right or what's wrong about this, or how would you,
But
what is this
yeah,
going
just
to kick
like
out?
copy
Or
paste the code into like a text editor and run it with a or online GDB, even better.
Well, some of you have had a non before, right?
Yeah.
It was
Nemo
just multiple
had
choice before.
something. What?
It was just multiple choice.
Yeah, it was just
on-
multiple choice before.
Makes it a little better.
Like it's probably gonna be something like, here's a piece of code, what's this gonna output? Or like, what's this variable gonna be at the end of this? Or like similar situations, but it's probably gonna be a little bit more complex than just like a for loop.
Are the reading in the loss of module in order, like for every week? Because I feel like like in Quest 7, polymorphism is way later in the low Ceph module. or way earlier.
Yeah,
I don't know which one.
All over the place.
I don't think they're in order, but he said for the midterm, it's module 1 through 6.
Okay.
So I feel like if you've been doing the quest too, like module 1 through 6, you've probably covered a good chunk of them already. So just be like fine tuning any specific
Yeah.
knowledge.
Just need to refresh it.
Yeah.
He's gonna test us on cellular automata, huh?
No, that would be awful.
Which
You got
rule
2
will produce
minutes.
the
You have 2 minutes. Make Conway's Game of Life.
You gotta type the output for a specific rule and specific number of parents.
Yeah, it's like a trillion by a trillion grid. You have to type every character.
Yeah, the spacing gotta be the same.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
it sounds like
Go ahead.
oh no, I was gonna say it sounds like everybody's cruising then. Like I feel like everybody that jumps on this call every week is like, I'm good. I'm moving along.
Only
The
people-
way,
oh,
sorry,
probably.
go ahead. I'm gonna stop cutting you off. I just all caught up, John.
What? Oh, were you talking to me?
Yeah, no, I was just saying, like, when you started talking, Dylan started talking.
Oh, I see.
And then when you started talking again, I started talking, and I'm like, let's
Oh.
just all cut off John. No, sorry, I'm gonna stop talking. You go ahead. All right, cool, sounds good. But yeah, I think the way the meeting is structured is the way I got it is I'm doing one a week. So I like just finished the one I'm done with, and I just like read over the spec for the next one. So I don't really have any like deep questions yet about this upcoming quest. Unfortunately.
Same. I just finished
feel
quest
that.
5. The quest 5 was very easy.
Gamer.
Yeah.
But now, like in quest 6, it's like inheritance and polymorphism. So I'm reading that right now.
Yeah, that's one thing. I feel like there's a few modules that just it seems like don't have to do too much with the associated quest. But there's a lot on inheritance and polymorphism, so I'm guessing they're gonna come in again. What is that, quest 6?
Inheritance and polymorphism.
Yeah, quest 6.
You should tend.
That's
I mean,
6.
you should know how to do it, I think, but you should try and avoid doing it because it's kind of inefficient for a lot of things, I think, as well as, I mean, this goes with OOP in general. Like, unless you're talking about like data structures or something where like a specific case, it makes sense to do OOP and well, I forgot the word, inheritance and whatever. Unless you like, there's like a specific situation that calls for it, it's usually a good idea to avoid doing it, but do know how to do it. I think there's only like 1 or 2 quests that I've done that actually do it. What you do use a lot more often is the generics, especially going into CS2C. I think about quest 7, it starts becoming like used, and like at a certain point, they like it's all just know how to use templates and generics. So that's a lot more important, but do understand like the inheritance. I just think it's not as important to know how to do, especially like with the way that programming is going, because it's like there's a couple schools of thought, right? There's like object oriented, which is like create objects that have like information and methods and abilities and capabilities, and then also like procedural, like try and create like a process that like, I mean, like doing it like by functions rather than by objects essentially. And when you tend to focus on like statelessness, and I'm doing it with like functions, like you can actually avoid like most of the problems that you can solve with OOP a lot better, and the programs tend to run faster, especially for more complex issues.
I see. Yeah.
How hard are, oh, sorry, you can go.
Oh no, I was just saying like, yeah, it seems pretty niche, like using inheritance and polymorphism.
It's very niche. It's very niche.
How hard are
That's funny, that's like-
CS2C quests?
That's like my
Oh.
entire like I work for a plugin company, and like our entire thing is built on using a framework and inheriting from their libraries, and then using that and then deriving from that to then communicate with the like audio hosts and stuff. This is very funny.
To answer your question, Christopher, they're quite tough. Like, you'll end up spending more than just like 1 or 2 sessions on them a lot of times, unless your sessions are like a couple hours long. And they're like, they're really fun, but they're like pretty serious algorithms too, a lot of the
I
time.
see.
Hey, Professor.
Hey.
Dan?
Good to see you guys. I was talking to Hian. Where is he? He's not here. Okay, but you know, there was we had an office hour, and a whole bunch of you emailed me questions about the midterm, I think. Well, not a whole bunch, you know, definitely more than one. Emailed me questions about the midterm. So I said, okay, well, you know, and Hian had some questions too. I said, you know what, just come to the meeting at 6 o'clock and ask me if you have any questions, so that everybody will be there, and I can just answer them if you want. But essentially, I don't know if you have any questions really, because I think you're familiar with the format, right? It's very much similar to the syllabus quiz and everything. And it's all going to be on concepts now. So nothing to do with quests in the midterm, which means that we have to be reading at least a couple of these modules every couple of days, and you know, digesting the material. And it's not very different, you know. I mean, if you look at the minor quest, for example, yeah, because a lot of my quests are based on algorithms that lots have discussed in the modules. However, you know, but Losev's modules are a distillation of the text. So the text has a whole lot more algorithms in it. And Michael picked out like a whole bunch of them that would make sense to present in the modules. And then I had to pick out a bunch of them that would make sense to put in a lab. Now, fortunately, Michael actually did many of these labs, right? And not so much in 2A and 2B, but 2C, certainly I think at least four of the 2C quests are modeled directly after Michael's labs. In fact, the minor quest, which is everybody's favorite, was I think was one of the favorite quests of students when Michael used to teach this class. It wasn't a quest at that time. It was just, you know, you have to code it and you have to hand it in, and the professor will have to read the code and you know, manually mark it. I did that in the early days. I used to do that, but you know, it wasn't really working well for the students. So yeah, so that's why, you know, a lot of the really nice stuff in the modules will be tested in the exams. So it'll be the concepts. So in fact, it'll be stuff that you didn't get a chance to use in the quests. However, it's a concept. So you might have used the concept, but you know, maybe there's another algorithm that's based on the same kind of thing. Like for example, insertion sort. Well, not so much in 2B maybe, right? In 2C. Maybe this is, we cover insertion sort and shell sort, and maybe quick sort. But we can't, you know, give you an assignment on all three. So we picked one of them. I think he did something else. Maybe he did insertion sort and shell sort. So I in our questing system, we do quick sort. It's actually different from his quick sort. It's a different implementation, but you'll discover. Oh no, this is 2B. Oh yeah. In 2C, you'll discover it's actually slightly different. But anyway, so I just wanted to stop by. If you have any questions about the midterm, happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'll just leave you guys in peace. Okay, I'll take off as quietly as I can. Okay, sorry to intrude. But I thought Ian would be here because he actually did have questions about the midterm. And I said, you know, come to 6 o'clock, come to the 6 o'clock meeting. You actually watch the recording, you know, after the thing I uploaded it. I hopefully uploaded it. Yeah. So yeah, it's there. I told him, come to the meeting and then ask those questions. Well, hopefully he'll ask those questions in the forum. Okay, so we can still answer them in the forum. But it's you'll have fun with the midterm. Just go through the modules. The modules are more important for the final for the exams, both exams. Modules are more important. Quests. And I somehow maybe next quarter onwards, I'll just rephrase everything in the syllabus and make it very clear that this class is not about questing only, because I think it's some people are starting to think that, well, I have to enroll in this boot camp and do all the programming exercises and I'm done with 2B, right? No, how could that possibly happen, right? That is like a boot camp, not like a course. So you have to get the understanding, you have to read the modules and participate with the understanding. So you can actually generate posts. I mean, people have been asking, I don't have any interesting, Divyani actually. So where's Divyani? She says, I think she asked at one point, how do we come up with these questions, things to discuss in the forums? Yeah, well, I mean, there's questions in the specs, obviously, but the modules have so many more algorithms that are not in the quest at all. You can basically take an algorithm from the modules and say, hey, it's not in the thing, but it's, we'll discuss it under concepts or something like that, some flair. So it makes for something interesting. And right now it's all just text-based. But who knows? Maybe you can just turn that into a script that AI will render into a video at some point. Yeah, or you could even have a Zoom session with your classmates, and hash it out on a virtual whiteboard, right? And capture it and post it. There's tons of really high-ranking videos on YouTube like that. Yes, where people are just talking about some really cool algorithm, just trying to figure it out, and eventually the light bulb goes off. But it's just like when people play video games, they're just waiting for that high, that moment, right? It's tremendous amount of pressure building up to that point, and that that's what they're doing. There's a half an hour's worth of work for that one moment there, and so like that. I don't know how we gonna start talking about that, but certainly there's lots of possibilities. Yeah, just go for it. I don't know. I don't have anything to say. I just stopped by to answer any questions if you had any. No? Yeah. All right. Okay. In that case, well, the exam's next week, so we got time. But I wanted to give you a heads up sooner so that you don't discover the day before the exam, oh, there's also modules. I didn't know about the modules. I thought the exams were going to be based on the quests. No, then you'd be in for a rude surprise. So, okay, no. The quests are for helping you to practice what you've learned in the modules. And these things.
Professor, I have a question actually.
Yeah, sure. Who is this, by the way?
Chris.
Oh, Chris.
Yeah, is the exam gonna be open book or is it?
Yeah, it's open book. It's open book. But, here's my suggestion. Does open book help in math? Yeah, okay. Sometimes it helps. Okay, but open book. Yeah, it's I don't know. Maybe if you're used to open book, you can do it. But there are some things here, some code snippets. Okay, for example, if doing research and finding the answer in a book and getting to it instead of just running it in your head and getting the answer makes all the difference sometimes. And that will only come by practice. Yes, because even if you get it right one time, you'll get it right in 2 seconds, right? But math exams are timed for a reason. Because, well, it's not enough to just get it right. You got to get it right enough times so that you can just get it right in your sleep. So that's why you have these hundreds of proofs. You get to any math textbooks and open it. At the end of at the end of each chapter, there's like 500 problems. And it's getting fatter and fatter every week, right? So, and the reason is not that you should just pick and choose, cherry pick 1 or 2 problems and solve them. It's just that even though it's the same thing, right? Same kind of integral, same kind of splitting by parts and all these things, just do it again and again. So the next time you see it, you're not even thinking, you're looking at the answer. And same thing like music, right? So if you just played once by accident, your teacher is not going to say, great, you passed it, right? You can't go on stage like that. You just have to get it into your system like that, right? And practice. And programming is an art. And so the only way you can get good at it is just by practice, and then eventually just become second nature. So exams, I think, certainly in 2C, they're all open book. but open book is not going to help. The thing that'll help is just practice. Yeah, it's in fact, in our art department, they actually enforce that explicitly in ceramics and all. Andy used to say, there's, you can't just get it once, write once, and then come back and try and hope to do it again. You got to keep there, keep throwing the clay again and again until it just automatically falls into place in the right configuration, right? It just, you get the instinct for it. And so they emphasize that it's not enough to get it right once. So that's why, questing, I don't know, I've got de-emphasized this, maybe more marked for the exams and all from next quarter on. But it's not just getting it all the quests, knocking off all the quests and I'm done with the course. It doesn't do any good at the end of the day. The quests are only meant to be a confirmation of the fact that you've read the modules and understood them. So if you've read the modules and understood the material, the quests are, going to be a piece of cake for you. But if you struggle through the quests and then just get it right, okay, I'm done with it, then you've not really got it. I think that is my opinion. Okay, so you'll find out. I think eventually, but it's open book. Yeah, okay. But try to just run everything in the head, in your head. You guys are all good, I think, right? Everybody who's here in class today, most of you anyway, right? You've been questing hard and keeping up. So I don't think you'll have any problems. You just need to go back to the modules and look at these things that you've missed. And it's always going to be, simple things you already used in the programs, but you just have to know. And these, some corner cases and all, read through the code carefully, and you'll be fine. It's multiple choice and objective style, true, false questions. Check multiple boxes, the notorious thing that students don't like. But you will have questions like so which of the following statements are true? This is nasty. Maybe I'll try and reduce those in the future. But I know I don't like those questions myself. You're never sure you got all the answers or not. Well, what the hell. All right. So yeah, don't stress out over it, but at the same time, read the modules. It's not all about questioning.
How do you suggest we go about studying on top of reading the modules, of course, and like how do you practice the concept without like having an actual question? Do you just like mess around in the IDE?
No. So that's why I love the modules. Even the book. I don't know which book you guys have. Which one are you? I think even the Savage book, right? I don't know about the Savage book so much, but I know about the LOSEF modules. There's so many code examples in LOSEF modules. Yes, so many of them, and they're almost all ready to go. Maybe you just have to write a wrapper main or something like that. They're all ready to go. And so the best way to study is just as you're reading through his notes, right? Just have an IDE open, copy and paste. And then run it and see if you get the result that Michael was discussing, right? After you confirm that, don't go on to the next part of the module, but hey, I ran that and got the result. Now let me change a few things and run it again. Experimentation, yeah? So keep experimenting and just, get done with it. Meaning that, I know what the hell is going on. And you'll do that after a couple of print statements, you'll know what the hell is going on. Yes, you got to do that. And I think then if you move on through these things, you'll find that even at the before the final, you don't have to do any of this because that would be a real review. If you didn't execute these things now, then you have to do it at the time of the final because you're forgotten. But once you do it once and you know this thing, at the time of the final, it's just skimming past and you're done. Okay, and then you just I mean the last week's topics, I guess, something like that. Yeah, midterm is not to worry about, right? In the overall scheme of things, look at that formula. I don't know what the formula looks like anymore. It's very complicated, but it's in there somewhere. The weight of the midterm is not so much. Next quarter, I think it'll be higher. Also, the final will be. I think. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Okay, that's what it is. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'm happy with the progress you guys are all making, all the questions you're asking. And if you look at the 2C subreddit now, lots and lots of really interesting posts coming up, right? Not, in fact, just tangentially related to questing, but some interesting concept in computer science altogether. And all these things just bubbling up out of the student population, just amazing discussions happening. And you're already in that way. some of the things that you're talking about, they seem to be naturally leading in that direction. So I think you guys are going to have a fantastic time. So just keep doing what you're doing, but don't lose sight of it. And that's what I told him, right? The most important thing is to just keep it at the center and not just do lots and lots of different things at the same time. Time consuming things. Yeah, that's what it is, right? You can do lots and lots of things, but if they're time consuming, then they're competing with each other because you only have a limited number of hours each day. So that's why I said, there's all these students who say, I'm going to major in, I'm going to do AP art as well as AP STEM, right? Math or something like that, math and physics. And math and physics make sense, right? But the thing is, art is not something that, you just go and, it needs time, yes? It needs time. You got to marinate in it. And it's in the video. You can watch that video again, I guess. But, same with STEM. And programming, it takes time. It takes time and practice. So if you don't have time for both, you shouldn't do both. You should do one at a time. And so I think that is the greatest risk. And if as long as you guard against that, I think you guys are doing awesome. Okay, all right, I'll take off. So just ask questions about the midterm in the Reddit. I'm happy to answer these questions if you have them in the Reddit. Yeah, don't send me email. Because email, then I don't answer them because then it only benefit one student and they probably have to remind them to share it. And then well, who knows? They might share it in Discord and I don't know if it happened and all. This is the best. So just send it on Reddit or ask now. Yeah. All right, great. Thank you. Thank you for your time. I didn't mean to take up so much time, but fantastic. I'm happy to see you guys. Right. I'll stop by, in a couple of weeks again, I'll stop by one more time, maybe after the midterm. Or you can invite me anytime. I'll see you later. Bye.
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 I noticed you also posted a practice midterm with 3 questions. I guess that's just a sample.
Or
It's like it'll open it'll open next week.
Oh, nice.
What day is this exam?
Next Thursday.
Oh,
Yeah, the 16th.
Okay.
Yeah, real exam is the 16th and the practice one's the day before.
Sweet.
I wrote this whole page of notes because it was like an open, you could bring like 1 page of notes into my calculus exam today. I brought this page of notes that I didn't even use.
Bunch of like
The CS exam
trick
does
sub
like that.
notes.
We're not even there yet. That starts like next week, or I don't even know if that starts next week. It's like we just finished like pretty basics of basics of calculus.
I'm in the other Calc 2 class, and it's been it's been interesting. I took calculus in high school, and I've just forgotten every single thing I learned. So it's great.
I would recommend, just out of interest, taking discrete math is like really helpful and interesting as well. And it's pretty directly related to computer science stuff. So that's the
Can
class I'm
never-
taking right now. Oh,
Can
sorry,
never
sorry.
get into it. I've tried to get
No?
into it every
Oh, yeah.
quarter, and it's always full by the time I register.
That's unfortunate.
There's also, I saw is there only 1 2C next quarter online?
Yeah.
I think it's ANS.
Yeah.
So hopefully that doesn't fill up.
oh, lambs.
ANS is the only 2C online next
Oh,
quarter, and
I
there's
see.
only 1 section.
Oh man.
Yeah, so hopefully it's like very generous with who gets in.
Yeah.
Or I wonder if there's just like a lot of attrition and people don't continue through to 2C.
There's a lot of attrition from what I understand.
That would make sense.
C2C is like 2B is a step up from 2A, but like as much of a step up as 2B is from 2A, 2C in terms of like questing difficulty is like 2 or 3 times that difference, I'd say.
What?
Damn it.
Yeah,
So is every quest like the automata, sort of? or what?
Yes, or harder. They're fun, but they kick your ass.
So how long does it take you to do one?
I've been stuck on quest 7 for like
10.
forever.
Do they take
Oh,
like
no.
10 hours maybe per
Jesus.
quest or something? Like 10 hours per quest?
It's hard to say. I usually like I'll come in, like I'll get on my computer and I'll be like, screw it, I don't want to play any video games right now and work on a quest. And I'll work on the quest and I'll code out an answer that just gets everything wrong. And I'm like, fuck it, I'm not even doing this now. And I'll come back later and then do it again. And then I'll come back later and do it again. And it'll take like 2 or 3 times of doing that. And then I'll get it. But I mean, maybe like 6 to 10 hours plus or more, depending on how hard the quest is.
Yeah, half the
That sounds
difficulty-
right.
yeah, half the difficulty is just like the directions. His directions are like really confusing. Like I don't
Yeah.
even understand like what he wants me to do. Like half the
Especially
time.
for quest 4, the tree one. Like I remember I was having a lot of like my problems weren't even because of my code, it's because like I was confused with the directions and like wasn't sure when to use like a pointer or reference or whatnot. So like, how are the 2C directions? Are they also like kind of confusing? The quest direction?
The 2C directions. Sorry, they tend to be about as difficult, maybe a little harder. I'd say the thing is, it's just like the actual thing that you're doing is usually a lot more complex. And then do I need to, you know what? I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm not gonna say anything. You guys can figure it out when you get to 2C, but like there's a couple other things that make it a little harder here and there.
Does 2C introduce any new like technical concepts?
Let me just double check my previous ones because I don't I don't remember them well enough. It's been too long. I've been stuck on quest 7 for too long. I don't think so, honestly.
I mean, based on the syllabus, 2C is supposed to mostly be like algorithms on advanced data structures.
It is,
Like
and it's like
Graphs,
Yeah.
queues, stacks, hashes, maps,
yeah,
sets, right?
yeah,
Like,
it's like algorithms on data structures and like the biggest technical difference is that you're not just working with like one data type most of the time. Like you like I said, he'll just make you use templates for literally everything. And he'll say like it's up to me to make sure that it works, but like your job is to make sure that when it works, it should work. I didn't articulate my point well enough, but sort of what I mean. Let me see if I can find an example of something like new technical in the 2Z quests. Although I think my favorite was quest 3. Because it's like, okay, I'd say the reason I liked it is the same reason I liked the Minas quest. And I think that's because it's sort of like the Minas quest, but 2D instead of 1D. That's how I would describe it, almost. It's not even like, it's very passing similarity, but that's what it's like. No, I mean, usually most of it is like, instead of being a technical thing, it's like, here's a technical limitation or like a limitation or something. Here's like a way to get around it or like a way to achieve this thing. I mean, I don't think it's a whole lot of like actually new stuff. So if you get 2B down, like I think you can handle 2C, I think.
I'm just imagining how much harder it is if you say it's 2.5 times harder than what it is currently.
No, I meant the difference between 2A and 2B. So like, well, okay, I don't know if the quests themselves are 2.5 times harder, I'd say the quests themselves are maybe like 1.5 to 2 times harder, maybe a little more. Like quest 7 is,
Infinity.
I like quest 7,
Yep,
but I don't like
yeah.
quest 7.
Dang. And this is coming from a guy that redid Cellular Automata for fun.
You guys got any like tips for the binary tree? I guess I'll ask that question. I feel like it sparked some debate last time because on quest, sorry, for quest 3, everyone was like, watch out for the extreme bit. Thank you for that. But like, does quest 4 have any pitfalls I should be aware of before I?
Yeah, well, I
spend
just
time on it?
finished it like a few days ago. So like, for me, as I said, it was the pointers and references because sometimes like I wasn't sure if I should like compare equality for pointers or compare equality for references, but I think I realized that you should, if it's like equality, like the equals, you should always use like the references because it's the value. You're not trying to compare the memory location, which is the pointer. And
Yeah.
then like, yeah, basically just be aware of the stars and ampersand, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm reading Losef's modules, and I don't even remember ever having to dereference anything in. Let me think. Was Quest 2? Did Quest 2 have nodes? No, that was the vector. Yeah, in Quest 1, it was a linked list. I don't remember ever having to dereference a pointer. So I was waiting for that to come. Let's hope I can do it all right. Thank you, though.
In quest 6, you get to use an enum. That's, I mean, like that,
Really?
and then also the pointer of a reference, or yeah, a pointer to a reference that I pointed in, that I posted in chat. Like that's those are the only two like new things in my code, like that I didn't do in previous quests. So
Is this 2C or 2B?
this is for 2C.
Okay.
Also, the pointer to a reference thing, it's not scary. Trust me, it just means that what you're like, it's just like, it's hard to characterize the difference. Like I understand it, but in the situation, it's like, it's really not, it's not that different from just using a pointer. So it's not scary.
Wait, in quest, at least in the quest 4, like the tree one, I thought like, if I recall, like if there was a reference like the ampersand T, then like if I wanted to like compare the memory address, like the pointer, I would put another ampersand. So basically like if it was ampersand that, then I would do ampersand that again. So like, how is this different? Like the pointer, I mean, how is the star ampersand different from like the double ampersand? If you want to like,
So the star, I'm pretty sure dereferences. Yeah, the star dereferences, and then like the star dereferences a pointer, and then the ampersand gives you a reference, which is slightly different than a pointer.
Well, you can also use ampersand if it's attached to something to mean at the address
Yeah,
of.
but that's
Yeah.
Which is-
that's what I was going to qualify it with, is that
Yeah.
like you put it right before defining a variable. It's kind of like its official use is what I just said, but like Dylan said, the more
Yeah.
important use is being able to like not quite like define pointers, but like saying this is a pointer to an object. It's not really saying that the object is a pointer type. I think that's the important distinction I'm trying to make. Or it is not a reference type. It's like the language specifically is what I'm trying to communicate, but it's kind of tough.
Is Quest9's file name just graph.cpp and graph.h?
Yeah, just graph.cpp and graph.h.
All
I
right.
think my graph.cpp, and I usually like space my files a fair amount, is only like 117 lines, and I hard coded everything. So
All right then.
yeah. It's a fun-ish quest. It's just like, I don't know. It doesn't really mean a whole lot to me.
Is the relevant reading the 3ADT for the LOSEF module for this quest?
I mean, I'd say the LOSEFs, like, if there's a LOSEFs module associated with the quest, it's probably more like, I mean, obviously he said that the modules are more important, right? So it's like,
Mhm.
I didn't read the modules when I did the quests because I didn't know how to get to them. And like, I guess that might make quest 9 more valuable, but in my experience, it's like not hard at all, especially if you understood like quest 8.
All right.
It's like an easy quest 8.
Okay, that's good to know.
All right, y'all. I got to bounce. It's been real. I'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Yes, you
See
guys
you,
next
Dylan.
week.
Yeah, I'm gonna head out too. See ya.
Yes, same.
Same.
All right then. See you.